This discussion is on agents in AI. Before I go and discuss this topic, I just want to highlight the fact that agents as a concept in AI has gained tremendous importance over the last few years. And so everything that we look around, we are trying to, since we are actually interested, remember this thing, in AI, we are interested in the computational aspects, the computing side of things of human beings. Okay, how can we computerize various functions performed by human beings? So in summary, this is what AI is about. How can we computerize various functions of the human beings? And part of that is thinking about human beings as agents. So let's see what it is. So what is an agent? An agent is something that can take inputs through its sensors, so to speak, okay, and then, or rather through its senses as human beings, and then analyze those inputs, okay, what do they mean, and then so process that information or data, and then take an action accordingly. That's in simple terms what is an agent, okay, something that takes input from its environment, okay, processes or analyzes that information and takes appropriate action, okay. So in other words, you could also say that an agent is an object, okay, that has the capability of accepting inputs in various forms, okay, and then process the input or the data that it receives, analyze that data, and then take suitable or appropriate actions. And this, as I said, is much like what human beings are doing. Is this not what we're doing all the time? Okay. In fact, this is an online system, human being, all across 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. We have 5 senses based on which we take input consistently, constantly. We are in the background analyzing that information and taking suitable actions. So what we do is we sense something, we analyze, and then we act. That's 3 simple words, okay. Or you could say we perceive, we think, and act. Perception or perceive, this is really an understanding of how things are around me here, around you, wherever you are sitting, okay. So that's perception based on what you see and hear. We sense, for instance, as human beings, we have sensors, we have heat sensors, okay. The skin tells us it's getting hotter. So what do? You take that information, you analyze information, you say, what do I need to do? Okay. You switch on, let's say, the air conditioning system or switch on the fan. And likewise, when you feel cold, for instance, what do? That feeling of cold goes inside you, and then you have the brain that analyzes and says, all right, let's do something about it. And what we do is we switch on the heating. Now this learning that when to switch on heating and when to switch on cooling is more or less inbuilt into our system, okay. You can look at the children as well. So from day one, it has 5 senses, Hawase Khamsa as we call them, and they actually help us analyze, perceive, think, and act. And this is happening, as I said, 24/7 basis. Keep receiving input, keep analyzing, keep taking actions. So in general, an agent is something that can, in an environment, perceive and then think and act, okay. As I said, this is the cycle in which agents operate. And then, so giving you an overview of what agents are, and human beings are the best example. In fact, in AI, that's what it is. We're trying to create, replicate, emulate the working of a human being, and human being is an agent in that sense from the basic definition that I've just illustrated. So having understood the basic concept of an agent, let's move forward and think about rational agents. That's another concept within agents. What is a rational agent? What is rationality? Okay, what do we mean by being rational? In general, being rational means that you take away your beliefs, your concepts, likes and dislikes away from your decision making. Okay, so when you want to make a decision, you are not being emotional, you are not being kind of angry, you don't want to be sad, you don't want to be overwhelmed by whatever impressions you might be carrying when you're taking a decision. Okay, so anything that takes decisions by removing all of these factors that might affect my choice, okay, that's a rational decision making. So all agents, be it human, be it artificial, as we will create, if they take the decisions without taking, without being affected by each of these factors, that's rational agent. So AI is actually defined, AI system, we want to define AI agents as rational agents in the environment in which it is operating. An AI agent can have mental properties such as, we do have it, we have knowledge, we have belief, we have intention, as I just mentioned, and we want to replicate. Now the artificial agents, okay, can have, like, think of these autonomous cars, for instance. Okay, they can have instead of eyes, they have cameras, they have speech recognition and speaking ability, natural language processing, sensors that can take input, process it, and understand what is being said. Humans, as I said, have five senses. Okay, ears, nose, your tongue, it accepts something, taste, and so forth. Then the other concept in this is actuators, which are hands, legs, vocal tract. These are actuators which make things happen. They make things happen. So they're like movers. Okay, open a valve. Okay, or hand, legs, and so forth. All of these actuators. Then, so you have sensors. Then you have internal processing. Okay, then you have actuators which help you move along with things. So these are machine components responsible for moving and controlling. As you see in the figure shown, just to give you an idea, you have sense of touch, you have sense of sight, hearing, smell, taste, and so forth. And in the middle is a portion of the brain that actually helps you process information. So as you can see, human actuators like arms, wrist, the knees, the legs, so forth. Okay, so these are the human actuators. A robotic agent, for instance, okay, that we assume is an intelligent agent. A robot agent can have cameras, as I said, infrared rangefinder, how far away things are, natural language processing for sensors, and various other motor actuators, as you can see in the figures. Now let's talk about software agents. And these are, a software agent, as I said, just keep in mind it's in a working environment. So just like it receives, as human beings we receive input, and likewise a software agent will also receive inputs that will be in the form of keystrokes, okay, some file contents, or let's say in a network it has network packets coming in and going out. So software agents will actually operate, okay, based on the input, and then give you output in the form of, let's say, screen output or printing or files or sending out network packets, right? So just keep that overview in mind of an agent. It has some inputs, processes inputs, and then produces an output in the form of either motion or in the case of software, the things that I mentioned. And the world around us, all of this is an environment in which we operate. So we have thermostats, for instance, cell phones, cameras, and other humans. So all of this are working around us, and that's the environment in which we operate. So 3 things I'd like to just clarify briefly. Sensors, effectors, and actuators. Remember these 3 things. Sensors, they said hawas-e-khamsa, the 5 senses that human beings have. So a sensor is a device which detects change in the environment and sends the information to the devices. Okay, so agent observes its environment through its sensors, that like we're doing. We all of us are doing right now. So we have sensors which are detecting things around us, and then and passing information inside. So that's what a sensor does. An actuator, as I said, machine components that convert energy into motion. The actuators are only responsible for moving and controlling the system. Okay, electric motors, gears through which cars move, rails, and so forth. And effectors, finally, are the devices that affect the environment. Okay, that interact, the actual effect of what we want to do. Okay, so like legs, wheels, arms, fingers. So legs help us move, feet help us move, wheels help move the cars. Okay, so that is the actual effector which is producing the output. Okay, and once again, several examples of agents I've already discussed. There can be worms, there can be animals, dogs, aeroplanes, robots, and so forth. So what we are interested in is, one, how to make agents, and then also understand how does it work. Okay, how does it act? If you look at the figure again, another one, we are interested in what an agent does. Okay, as you can see, it has an input and then it has an output. Agents can perceive, evaluate decision making, and that is receiving input from its sensor, from its environment, and then it is producing something, giving it back. Agent characteristics. Okay, the features were there. It has inputs, outputs, sensors, actuators. And then what does the agent also need to have? Agents, just like human beings, they are autonomous, independent, and something called situatedness. This means that we are aware of our surroundings. And this surroundings I find out from my sensors, where I am, where you are sitting right now. Okay, as agents, you are aware of your situatedness, where you are, your situation. And then you perform actions according to, and if anything changes in that environment. Autonomous, as I said, as human beings, we are autonomous. Okay, we are independent. We can act without intervention by other human beings. Of course, as children, we have to be taught. We learn from the environment. We learn from our elders, friends, and so forth. But we are autonomous. And we have control over our own actions and the internal state, my thinking that's going on in the mind. Responsible for, we control our own actions. They say that then you are responsible, you are answerable for your actions as well. We keep hearing this, right? Because you are independent, you're autonomous. Then comes adaptability or adaptivity, okay? Which means agents are flexible and proactive. Flexible meaning to changes in the environment. Sometimes you tend to ignore things. You accept your friend's behavior. Input changes. Yes, you are feeling hot, for instance, but you can say, I can bear it out for another, half an hour or so. So you ignore the changes in the temperature. You are slightly flexible, okay? And proactive. Proactive meaning that you can take, goal-directed, where you want to be, initiatives wherever appropriate. So you realize that there's danger somewhere, okay? That's what you sense from your environment. So you will take, as human agents, you take proactive measures and you try and get away from it. You could see fire somewhere. You want to move away from there. So you think appropriate, you'll make your own decision. And then, of course, learning. We learn from the environment and then keep on improving ourselves. Perhaps another thing is sociability. We interact with each other, and this is called peer-to-peer interaction with my surroundings, my fellow colleagues, my friends, okay, and so forth. So just like that. Now, how do we measure the performance of an agent? I mentioned autonomous cars. So if you want to measure the performance of an agent, particularly now we're talking about rational agents in AI, there are 4 things we need to look at. Performance is given by, we call it as PEAS. P stands for performance. E stands for environment. So performance meaning, let's in the case of autonomous cars, safety, how safe is the car? Time, when is it available? How does it drive? Legal drive, is it legally allowed to be used? Some places do not allow that, okay? Comfort, for instance. So is an autonomous car as comfortable as others? Environment. So can it operate on roads? Is it aware of other vehicles operating on the road? Okay. Road signs, it has to be conscious. Now, remember, we're doing this, if I'm a driver, this is inbuilt in me. I know I have to look at traffic signs. I know I have to observe traffic signals, okay, and take appropriate action if somebody is coming in my direction. I have to be conscious about the pedestrians on the road. So that autonomous car also has to be aware and be prepared to handle that situation. Actuators, of course, the steering wheel, the accelerator, the brake pedals, signals, turn signals, the horn, these are the actuators. And sensors, of course, I said, cameras, GPS tells you where you are. You know that the thing about mentioned about situatedness? GPS is one example. Then speed and tachometer, how fast is the engine running? Odometer, measuring the distance. Accelerometer, how fast are you doing? I hope you got an idea about agents, rational agents, and human beings as agents. Thank you very much. I hope this was interesting and useful. Thank you very much.